everybody, and welcome to today's edition of the Real Estate Triangle, hosted and powered by The Difference. As all of you have come to know, that The Difference was actually on a cloud radio station, and it now has become a cloud radio station, hosting all of these great shows. And today is ours, the Real Estate Triangle, and we've got a great show for you today. We've got some absolutely dynamite rock stars in the home industry. And today we're talking about many people we're seeing in real estate. My wife and I have a real estate team, and we are seeing a lot of people are taking advantage of land prices north of the city. And so a lot of people are interested in purchasing that land, building from the ground up, and securing the finances to do that. So today we're going to talk to just a couple of guys that are integral to that process, and give us their insights and maybe help us avoid some of the pitfalls purchasing land, building new construction, and just kind of get a good idea of what you need to know if you intend to go down that road. So our first guest is Doc Robinson, and so we're going to bring him in for just a second. What's happening, Doc?
Oh, not much. Just trying to back a trailer in the lake lot.
Always moving, man. If you guys don't know this guy, he is a character, but he gets it done. Dirt Guy Excavation. Matter of fact, I got my Dirt Guy hat here, and representing it and kissing up to my guest. But Doc has Dirt Guy Excavation based out of Whitesboro, and he's going to give us all his info. He's going to get this trailer back in, and we'll get back to him in a second. Doc, I'm glad you're with us, and looking forward to some good information coming in. So our next guest, and we're going to start to get into the nuts and bolts of this, is Thomas Perlew. And he is, Thomas, I'm actually going to let you tell us about your position in the Market Center. And if you just tell us a little bit about who you are and who you work for.
Thanks, Adam. My name is Thomas. Of course, thank you for having me, Adam. Appreciate it. I'm the Central Texas Market Manager for North Point Bank here, which is headquartered out of Michigan. And here in Central Texas, we're just in a growing, blustering market, of course, with everything that's happening in Central Texas, from Dallas down to San Antonio, all the way down to Corpus, from Houston to El Paso. And so there's a lot of growth going on. And North Point Bank has a bit of a niche in construction, as well as portfolio lending and the ability to somewhat think outside the box, but also offer those great market rates, FHA, VA, Govy loans that folks are looking for.
Absolutely. So today we're talking about we're gonna paint a scenario, a picture, and so the real estate agent has Johnny client, right? And he's already secured financing, and he wants to purchase this property, 3 acres. North in Grayson County, north of McKinney. And so I'd like to hear, you and I discussed off air that there's really 2 ways to approach this, and there's probably more than that. But if you just explain to us a little bit how one loan could carry that entire project, and maybe how the 3 could be played out in that scenario.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to consider. Great point, Adam. We talked about that briefly earlier. Folks somewhat feel like they're biting the big apple when they're thinking about what it takes to get construction of a home purchased. And there's many parties involved. You have to get the builder, you got to get a budget, you got to get the city to approve your plans, get a permit. There's also the banking side. And the banking side has to know, do you purchase the land first or do you not? And so there's many different steps that you can take. I would say there's probably three main ways you could do it. One would be you purchase land, you pay it down, and at some point you still have a little bit of loan on it, but you decide you want to build a house on it, and so you go back for a construction loan. And at the end of the construction loan, when it's all done, you decide that you want to live in it forever, and you refinance into a 30-year mortgage. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to purchase the land and do the construction at the same time, which offers a little bit of extended timeline because you got to get the plans and permits. Sometimes the seller of that land may see that as a challenge because they just want you to buy the land and handle your construction as you can. But sometimes we all can't do that all at once. So that would involve buying the land and doing a construction loan at the same time. At the end of construction, which could be 12, 15 months later, you permeate into a long-term mortgage. And then there's a third option, which is you buy the land and do the construction at the same time. And when the construction is done, it streamlines into a 30-year fixed mortgage. That is what's known as a one-time close. North Point Bank does offer that. A lot of banks do not because there is a pricing risk. North Point has somewhat of an augmented approach where we somewhat reprice it at the end of the year to fit the market demand. But a lot of banks are concerned that if they fund construction now and time lags on and construction takes longer, that they'll be priced out of the market when it's time to offer that 30-year fixed mortgage. So they're not sure if they want to bite that bullet in the beginning, but there are different options.
So let's say that Johnny client here is completely creditworthy, are those decisions based upon the lender, or are those decisions based upon the qualified buyer?
Good question, Adam. It's based on the qualified buyer. So it depends on what the person is looking for, perhaps their appetite, whether it's for risk or their timeline. I had a friend, he's a pharmacist. He lives in Corpus Christi. He actually manages a few pharmacists. And he was at the point in his life where he wanted to buy some acreage and build a home on it, but not all at the same time, right? And so it was somewhat the challenge of finding the land, doing the land loan by itself, and then planning construction. And so I do work with builders closely that I can recommend, but oftentimes we try to stay out of that as if we're going to do the financing. We don't want to get tied too much into recommending. But my friend, the pharmacist in Corpus Christi, he purchased the land, by itself without having the construction plan. And in doing so, that one thing to consider for borrowers and buyers and builders is that there's going to be more equity required when you purchase just land, equity being the down payment. So if I come to the table and I have a house and I want to refinance, we all see the commercials on TV, 100% financing, or, we've heard 20% down is a standard. And those are both fair, right? It depends on the market risk, the rate, the credit profile, and what the bank can offer. Many different ways it could be looked at. But funny enough, Adam, land specifically requires more down payment pretty much across the board. I've worked with some community banks that will lend as high as 85% with 15% down if they know their market. A community bank likes to play in their backyard and will be specific. So they may offer a lower down payment for your clients that are ready to start that first step but not ready for construction. Let them please understand that land purchase in the beginning is the challenge. It's almost like biting the bullet because the bank is typically going to want more down payment on land. But if you are building at the same time, the bank sees that risk profile, the collateral base, as an eventual built home, which is more marketable on the secondary market. So they'll lend with less down payment. But if you're buying land only with no plan of construction, that bank is going to say, we'd like you to put more of a down payment. Something to keep in mind for any clients that are going to buy and build.
Absolutely. That's absolutely great input. We've run across clients that they were, out in ag specific country, right? Mm-hmm. And had, a paper credit and couldn't believe that, it was going to require an additional 15% down, for this piece of land that was frankly where it was ag restricted. So it was always going to be ag. Taxes the taxes on 10 acres are like $12 a year. But the lender still wanted 15% down.
You say 15 or 50?
15.
They should run into a quiet closet where no one can hear them and scream at the top of their lungs, yes! Because for ag exempt acreage, yes, 15% for a purchase only on ag exempt acreage is a huge benefit deal. That's great. Really? That must be a community bank that is willing to kind of lend in their backyard. For ag exempt land, for land only, for investment and long-term purposes, you're going to find 35 to 40% down as the typical.
Really?
Don't even get me talking about commercial. I've done commercial, and commercial land is like 50% down. So you've got to keep these in mind. Land by itself You don't want to see the receivables on a bank note summary page during their P&L summary, their balance sheet summary with their board at the end of the year. You will find losses for land, line item by line item. You will rarely find a loss for a commercial shopping center or a duplex or a 3-unit apartment building, because those are marketable assets. When a client gets in default, he can sell it. Bank gets their money back. If he doesn't sell it, the bank could sell it. But land, boy, that timeline can really stretch out. And so the banks want more equity on that stack. So 15% is excellent. So your client found the right community bank.
Well, Thomas, I'm glad that I found you and got you on today, because I'm learning a plethora of information right now. So I guess the key word there is in that ag exempt land. The key word is it's seen as investment property, and they need to secure. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that
no,
the bank sees that as investment property?
I wouldn't say one necessarily correlates to the other, but because oftentimes somebody will buy ag exempt land for their homestead exemption. They'll have, a 50-acre parcel. They'll carve out 2 acres for their house, and the other 48 will be ag exempt. And then they want to buy the 100 acres next to them because Bob and Sally are retiring and they're moving. Right. And that's still ag exempt land. When it's ag exempt, it means it's being held for really no use, or farming or livestock is on it. And so if you put one cow on 10 acres, you get ag exemption, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean it's for investment, meaning for profit. It more so means it's for a buy and hold for long-term use.
Yeah, I got you. So I didn't want to cut you off, because I think that's excellent information that our viewers want to hear. But back to so Johnny client has purchased 3 acres. He's wanting to do the one-time close. So how, in about 3 minutes, how does that process work? He's going to do a one-time close. How is the money dispersed for the land purchase, the construction, and then conversion to the 30-year mortgage?
Great question. So let's say the 3 acres is $100,000. Is that fair, Adam?
Yeah.
He's purchasing the 3 acres, right? Okay.
So he's buying 150.
You want to say 150? Okay. So we got 150,000 for 3 acres he's purchasing. He's under contract, right, for 45-day close. During that 45 days, he wants the one-time close. He needs to get everything done, because the construction loan has to be booked when they close. Otherwise, it's not a one-time. And so now within that 45 days, he's got to do environmental inspection plan, meaning how much wood is going to be needed, how much stucco, all those things that the builder will put together, come down to a price per square foot, put together a budget. Once the builder gets all that, the builder's got to get approved with the lender. This can all be done in one process. On the front end, he gets it under contract for 150, puts his down payment. Let's say he puts, 10,000 of earnest money in, and he's going to need another 30,000 down. He's estimating, right, to get down to a loan amount for 150,000 for a purchase of 150,000. Now, let's say his construction budget with the builder turns out to be 350,000. Just for intensive purposes, I'd like to round off. So we now have 150 purchase with 350 construction, one-time close, total borrowing base of 500,000. I use the term borrowing base because oftentimes a bank will prepare a borrowing base certificate that summarizes what the collateral base is and how it may be used over time, depreciated, if you will. So 500,000 is the borrowing base, land of 150 plus 350 construction. He's borrowing 500,000. Now, let's say this bank specifically is saying we need 20% down on a construction loan for a one-time close. 20% of $500,000 is $100,000. That means the client has to put $100,000 down. Because it's a one-time close, that $100,000 is going in day one, meaning that on the end of the contract, day 44, he's got to have $100,000 in escrow. So he started with 10, he needs 90 more. He's putting 100,000 in. He's like, well, dang, I almost bought the whole property, got 50,000 only left over, right? So he's feeling a little bit squeezed, but it is what it is with this specific bank program. There are better, but this is the one we're talking to. So on day 45, when the loan closes, and he's got a one-time close, he put 100,000 in the stack, and the next day when the loan funds, on the bank screen, they show $50,000 debt to your client. Is a $50,000 debt to the client, to the bank, and he's making interest-only payments on it.
Okay.
$50,000 at 5% interest only. He makes it every month. Let's say by day 29, right? 29 days after closing, he hasn't done anything. The builder hasn't poured the slab, hasn't done anything. He'll make a payment for $50,000 interest only. On day 45, the builder rolls the slab. Construction loans are typically funded on an as-complete basis. So on day 49, when the slab is done, the inspector goes out there, which we've one on the team, and he says, okay, the slab is done, and he sends it to the bank and says it's done. Well, the bank goes back, reverts back to that construction budget that was prepared in the beginning and looks for slab, and it says, okay, the slab costs $40,000. The bank is not going to look for proof of where that $40,000 was paid. They're going to assume that since the slab is done, that the builder has paid that, and now the bank will reimburse the builder for that $40,000 expense. Now, builders will typically just tell the slab guy, I'll pay you later, but the bank will pay on an as-complete basis. So on day 49 or 50, $40,000 slab plus a $50,000 balance, now the client owes $90,000 on their loan. So on day 60, with the second payment, he's now paying interest only at 5% on $60,000, and so on and so forth, all the way till closing when it's complete.
That's great. I'm going to bring Doc in now if we still got him in the green room. And okay, Doc. So were you privy? You're able to hear all that? Can you hear me?
You can't hear us.
All right, we're going to catch him here in a second. He's going to know. So where I want to go with that is I want to give Doc the opportunity if we can get him. He's busy at the job site, and he's trying to carve out a few minutes for me. But what I want to talk about is, and you and I can go ahead and jump into it. If we have someone like Doc, right, that the 3 acres that we purchased was rough land, and it needs excavation, pad work, all that's going to be done. So Doc would take it all the way up to foundation, and then he's out, and the general contractor comes in. So I'm assuming that plays out the same way, even though you have 2 entities instead of just one in your first scenario. Is that correct?
So that's an option, right? By the builder deciding with the client, with the borrower, with the guy who's building his house, or the house is being built for him. That's something they'll decide together. Either on that construction budget, there's a line item that says, grading lot, or it says clearing brush, or it could say very detailed. Or if that's not on there, the bank will either understand or not care that the borrower is taking care of that before construction begins, because the first item on construction says slab. So we have to understand that before the slab, they got to clear trees, dig some holes, dig some trenches, level it out, grade the lot, grading, and that can be done by Doc. And so if it's not on the construction budget, then that would all be done before anything was done by the bank, meaning that those are soft costs. Now, if someone is buying a lot and they want to do that before the loan comes, they can itemize that on the budget as soft costs. It's not included in the loan amount because it was already paid. And when the loan is funded on day 1, because soft costs were completed already, inspector takes a picture of the land graded. That can then be reimbursed back to the borrower. It is a cost, but it's either going to be a soft cost before you start or itemized on the budget.
Okay. So the landowner, Johnny Client, is what you're saying is he's paying for that in the background, not out of loan proceeds. Is that correct in your scenario?
It could be either way. So typically it's always done.
If it's in the proceeds, then it's going to be itemized. Gotcha.
It would have to be itemized on the budget.
Yeah, Doc, just give us a thumbs up when you can hear us and ready to join. So a couple of other questions. I heard you say inspector, right? The inspector takes a picture. Is that the bank inspector, or is that the inspector that the client hires?
So I get a little excited about this part, right? So typically someone's building a home, they go to a builder and they say, help me build my home. They come into an agreement, they're excited, the builder takes it from there, coordinates everything. When that is done in that way, the bank has their own inspectors, and on the closing statement on the HUD-1, when they close this construction loan for $500,000 in the scenarios we discussed, there's going to be a line item on the closing statement not points for the bank loan, not a title fee, not insurance. There's actually going to be a charge for construction inspections. And so that money will be paid up front. Let's say it's 150 per inspection, 6 inspections over the span of the loan. That's $900. $900 is charged on day one from closing costs and put into an escrow account at the bank. And every time there's a draw made, the bank will identify an inspector to go out to protect their interests, making sure work is done before they pay, and then take 150, the predetermined amount, out of that savings account that they have in the borrower's joint name and pay the inspector. So they're making sure that inspections are being done and that they're being paid for through the loan proceeds. The borrower will pay up front, put those monies aside, and it'll be paid for as the bank goes. I get a little passionate about this because that bank inspector, it's, Johnny Inspector, Sam Inspector in Marble Falls, he works with the bank all the time. All he's doing, he's going to walk out there and see if there is drywall on the wall. Literally, if there's drywall nailed in, if it's standing up. But you and I both know, Adam, when you're building a home, you kind of want to be mindful at the seams. Is it airtight? How's the floating? Is it textured? You're looking at the leveling of it. There's lots of things involved in dry. So that inspector is just saying, yep, drywall's up, pay the man. And that builder can go very far without even worried about quality at all. So you can hire a client should and can hire their own inspector outside of the bank process and pay them $350 each time. And that kind of inspector will go out and say, this needs stucco, this needs caulking, this needs sealant, something of that nature.
Yeah, that's a great caveat because at 3:30 here, I'm going to bring on a home inspector and explain exactly what you're talking about. As a member of a real estate team, I'm going to be advising my client to go on the side and pay a home inspector to do a phased inspection. And at 3:30, he's going to come on and tell us all about those phased inspections to protect the client. Right? The bank has its own inspector to protect the proceeds, and then we would advise the client to protect their investment by having it privately inspected as they go through the phases, to keep the builder in check, to make sure that they know what's behind the drywall when they move in their home, all those things that need to be checked step by step. We are going to progress toward bringing him in, but I wanted to see one more time if Doc got where he could talk to us. He may be completely tied up. If he's tied up, one other thing, let me look at my notes here. Doc, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So we were talking about how this one-time closed loan for Johnny Client, who purchased 3 acres, and we're gonna assume that he line itemed the actual excavation work on this property. So I want you to tell us a little bit about what you guys do when you get, let's say, I've seen some of the properties out there, towards White Squirrel that you've done. Rough property, and we're going to take it to a home site. So kind of walk us through that.
So basically, what we do is we go and assess property, looking at topography, because mainly it's all about water control. It don't matter if it's for ag land or putting in a house, subdivision, whatever, you still got to control water no matter what you do. So essentially, when we go and assess the property, now I don't know how the finance part on all that stuff goes into play. I just know you kind of wrap it up in a loan. So if I go and assess the property, I give a bid, and then I kind of tie that all in together. But that's essentially what you're doing, is looking at the topography of your property so you know what you can and can't do with it. Just like the old saying, everyone says flatter is better, and it's really not. Flat means you can't move water.
Yep. And I think a lot of people looking to move out of the city and buy a substantial piece of property, whether it's 1 acre or 20 acres, they don't think about how much they are changing the natural flow of water by building a pad for a home.
Exactly.
And so you guys are able to, I saw a driveway that you just completed out there, driveways, water control. explain a little bit about. I know Johnny Client here. He's got 3 acres and he wants to build a tank also in the back of his property, and he's paying for that. Explain a little bit about the degree of difficulty that goes into adding a tank to a property.
The degree of difficulty is if you're on flat ground, where are you going to put the dirt? So
Yep.
flatter is, less dam you need. So yeah, you can build a pad with it. You can do a couple of things with it, but what are you going to do with the rest of it? Ponds, you mostly want a ravine, a more natural ravine or a low spot is usually the best. But not necessarily difficulty. It's just knowing where you want your finished water grade to be at is one thing, and then 2, how far back you push water back. So if you go too far back on someone else's property, you go into more of a legal ordeal there.
Absolutely.
You can't back water onto someone else's property, and you can't change the flow from start of your property to the end. You can make it zigzag in between, but it's always got to start where it started and end where it ends. So that it's difficult, but not at the same time. It's difficult if you're trying to do a pond on 3 acres to make an acre pond, but it's not
Sure.
if you're doing on 20 acres.
Right. And that's kind of where I was going is I think a lot of people think, well, while we're doing this, while we're building the pad for our home on this land, we're gonna add a tank and we'll use that that earth that's removed for the pad.
Yeah.
So does that become an expense to the customer if there has to be dirt hauled away?
If you're building a pond, you're trying to get to where you're not. I'll find different ways, like a privacy berm or something for the customer where you're not hauling away any material. Because as soon as you put material on the road, you're talking 6 times the cost than it is just do everything on site. So, like, let's say he's got 3 acres, he's wanting a pond, he's on flat ground, but he's wanting it 15 foot deep, and you're talking, it could be 6,000 yards of dirt come out. You only need 2,000 yards of dirt for pads. What are you going to do with the rest of it? Well, typically I try to find, creative ways. Our background's building golf courses, so we try to figure out ways to landscape, make things look artsy-fartsy. But the customers that don't want any of that, then you try to go to the neighbors, like, hey, you want dirt? Or, we're going to have to figure out how to sell it or figure out a way to get rid of it. But I always try to sell the customer on, allow me to have creative license. Just let me build your property to be awesome versus now you're paying to get rid of dirt, which we had a few of those, but it's rare.
Yeah. No, I've seen your work, and that's the thing is working with pros. Get the right team to get this done, because right now, land prices, you can find land where we're going to put this $500,000 into a loan here, and the day we close on the 30-year mortgage, we've got an assessed value of an $800,000 property. And so it is a very difficult path to get from looking for land to moving into your home. But it can be extremely advantageous as far as investment goes. And so I'm really, really glad that we had you guys on. I'm going to give you guys a minute, and then so Doc, you guys can actually build the pad and pour the footers and walk away with the slab, especially in Grayson County. Is that right?
Yeah, we do concrete as well, unfortunately.
I hear you.
There's money in it. I don't personally like doing it myself. That's why I got foremans for.
Exactly. You got to do what you love. Well, Doc, what's the best way for us to get a hold of you?
Usually by cell phone. My cell phone's 903-651-3233. Text or call it. And then, email is dirtguyexcavation@gmail.com or website www.dirtguyexcavationllc.com.
Awesome. Well, Doc, I'm going to let you go and get to it. You got some money to make. I appreciate you taking time, buddy, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Thomas, thank you so much. I'm going to, just after you talk, I'm going to bring the inspector on, and we're going to talk about how it's advantageous, just like you said. The lender is going to have their inspector ensuring their investment in this deal. And then the client needs to protect their interest. And so that's where Ben Fisher comes in with Fisher and Home Inspection. And so Thomas, I want you to hang on for just a second. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. We got a great discussion going here. And Thomas was telling us about how we've got a one-time close on this property. We purchased it. We have done some land improvement. We've poured the foundation, getting ready for frame up. And so is there any point, you guys are the experts, and I don't know the answer to this question. Is there any point where the lender, Thomas, you and Ben need to be in communication?
Yes, absolutely, all the time. Every time there's a draw made, I would try not to take too much of Ben's time because he's probably got 50 clients he's working with. But when mine comes into his queue, I'd love to talk to the inspector. He's going to send me a little inspection report saying, yes, sir, the drywall is up. Yes, it looks like it's taped and floated. Yes, you're ready for that next draw. And then I'll look at the budget, see if it's ready. But I would love to talk to him, just make sure that, that all supplies in that draw are on site and that work is done and performed to at least a modest quality.
Absolutely. And I think that you've really highlighted for us today the fact that, Johnny Client needs to understand going into this project that communication is key. And there needs to be extremely detailed communication all the way through this process. And I think this $500,000 project that we worked in, that we made up in Grayson County with Johnny Client, this is probably a year-long project. Am I right, Thomas? That's
yes, sir.
What you would typically see. And so, you need to have your boots laced up and some thick skin. And this is going to be a tough ordeal. But like I'm saying, from the real estate side, it's an amazing investment opportunity for the client, because they're going to walk in day one. If they do what all of you guys are telling us, they're going to walk in day one to a home with equity. If this is done right and done smart. Well, Thomas, this is going to be a two-part episode. Next week, we're going to talk to a custom builder, and I'm going to have you and Ben back on if he can, and we're going to walk through those space inspections that Ben's fixing to talk to us about. And we're going to walk through the loan process all the way to completion and conversion of that 30-year mortgage. So, Thomas, if somebody needs to get a hold of you, what's the best way that they can reach you to inquire about mortgage?
Well, thanks, Adam. And I'll just chime in again. Johnny Client needs to be certain that he's watching the steps and that his team is making sure everything's taken care of. If someone needs any help, I always advise them to be mindful of the builder and choose a banking partner that will be an advocate for you between the builder and the bank. And so you can reach me at northpointbank.com, actually northpoint.com. You can reach me at northpoint.com/Thomas-Burlew. You can call my cell phone below, or you can email me at thomas.burlew@northpoint.com. And that's pretty much the best way to get a hold of me.
Outstanding. And what yourself as the market manager, what kind of, do you have agents that work for you that if somebody contacts you, how does that triad work there, the structure, I guess, of North?
So I typically do a lot of the I do a lot of the construction lending, but I have a team of a handful of loan officers and senior loan officers and some processors and loan admins and loan coordinators. As a whole team, we're stretched amongst Central Texas, and right now we're just growing into Central Texas. So we should hope to have 4 or 5 offices up and down the corridor between you and Dallas, and down in San Antonio. My partner Lewis is down there. So we're going to try to bridge that gap, but we're going to build a whole team. And so if someone were to reach out to me, most likely I would pull one of my senior loan officers into the queue. And so there's somebody specifically that can be accountable to your clients to make sure they're protected through the process.
Well, that's outstanding. And Thomas, I certainly appreciate you sharing your knowledge. I think you guys at North Point are just knocking it out of the park, and you're really going to make a difference here. especially in North Texas. Thank you for joining us, and I'll be talking to you soon, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Adam. Nice meeting you, Ben. Enjoy your talk.
Nice to meet you.
All right, Ben. I'm going to get right down and dirty. So
Okay.
we are walking through these steps, and Thomas was telling us about how the bank is going to protect their interest by having their inspectors go out at every disbursement of money and verify that XYZ steps have been completed as detailed in the loan. But as a member of a real estate team, I'm going to be telling my clients, you need to call Ben Fisher, because you've got to make sure that your interests are protected through all of these phases. And so, like you and I talked offline, people think a home inspection, $350, and that's no big deal. This is going to be multiple, visits, and it's substantially more than $350, right? Kind of go take us through the pricing, and then I'm going to bring us back around of why that's a steal, frankly.
Yeah, so the pricing varies on that because it's not just one visit, and it's not just 2 or 3 hours out of the day, or even 3 or 4 hours out of the day. This is more of a project that we sign on to help with. So it really depends. Pricing depends on how detailed you want the inspection and the different phases. A lot of companies will do a 3-phase inspection, so you'll have a pre-pour before the slab. Then after the slab, you'll have a pre-drywall inspection of the different systems, and then you'll have a final inspection after the project is completed. So that's kind of that's very normal. There's others that do 5-phase, 7. It just depends on how detailed you want to get. As far as do you want us out there every time a different trade finishes their particular assignment, and coordinating all that, talking with the builders of different trades on the issues that we're finding. So it can become very time consuming. So it does cost considerably more than just your typical $300 to $500 inspection on a home that's somebody's lived in already. So
if we're moving up into that, let's say a 7-phase inspection, and I'm going to be advising my clients for sure, absolutely, through this 1-year project that you need to have you guys out there. We could be talking a couple $1,000. Correct.
Yeah. Easily, yeah.
And I know that a lot of people get sticker shock with that, and they think that's a lot of money. But I'm going to be telling our clients, you're investing, you're going in debt for $500,000, right, on this project. $2,000 is nothing to walk through to protect your investment, to make sure that every step is going along the way. I can't tell you how many homes we sell and or buy, and during a regular home inspection, there are things hidden behind the sheetrock that should never have ever happened. And I'm sure you've seen that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we do quite a bit of new build inspections, where the project is almost completed or it's right at completion, and we'll go in there and do an inspection, and it's crazy some of the stuff we've seen. Last week we were in Mansfield, and my wife and I work together as a team, and so she was filling the bathtubs up to see how the drains were working. She starts to fill the bathtub up in the master bath and the sinks in the master bath, and she yells at me, Ben, come here, hurry. I run in there, and water is coming out of the drain of the master shower, rising up out of the drain because somebody had put something down those drains and blocked the whole system up. And the water was not only that, but the water was also going into the master bedroom because they didn't seal the shower pan. So you can imagine what would have happened if the homeowner, he was spending $400,000 on this house. He comes in, moves in, they have all their bedroom furniture, carpets in, and they go to take a shower, and that water just floods their bedroom the first night they're there. So if you can catch that stuff before you finish the project, it's so much better.
Well, and frankly, I've seen that exact example. Construction site accidents happen, right? It just does. Your builders are doing the best they can. Those crews are out there doing the best they can. Things fall down a drain.
Yeah.
Outlets don't get connected.
Right.
all of these things too. It's a huge project to build a home, and accidents happen, and it's a lot cheaper to find those things before the sheetrock goes on. Because I guarantee you, in your example, it's going to cost a lot more to have the general contractor and the plumber come out there and fix this thing.
Yeah.
So that $2,000 would have saved them more than that for sure.
Yeah, and that's just guesswork as far as what caused that problem. There may have been something that was much more serious.
For sure.
So
but you don't even know until you start tearing it apart.
Yeah. So
and that's not free.
One of the funnier things we saw last week, we were doing a new build in Benbrook area off of the Chisholm Trail, and so we were doing a thermal image scan with our camera, and I started seeing like heat signatures all over the house, and they had forgot to cut the vents for the air conditioning out of a house, and the air conditioning is installed. They're putting the final touches on the house, and they don't have the vents cut for the air conditioning system.
They had a nice warm attic.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. The squirrels and the rats are very thankful for all that heated attic. Yep. And so again, I can't say enough about home inspectors, because every penny that you pay for home inspection, whether it's the smallest inspection or the most detailed, that is absolutely investment protection.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than insurance. It's cheaper than anything that you can do. It's the one thing that you can do that people forget about to protect their investment.
Yeah.
And so, I just can't say enough. And so I'm going to kind of break away here for a second, and I want you to talk about one thing specific.
Okay.
For clients is people who are getting their home ready to sell. Let's say, Johnny client here has a house in Frisco that he needs to sell, and he's going to sell it as he's doing this 1 year, $500,000 project in Grayson County. So again, our real estate team is going to advise him to do a pre-listing inspection.
Right.
And so I would say most people don't do that when listing their home. Tell us a little bit about the advantages of pre-listing inspection.
So 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a home inspection done by somebody on your house if you're selling your house.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all guided by the same standards of practice, Texas Real Estate Commission. Some are a part of different organizations, so they'll write up different things. But you're going to basically see a lot of the same stuff. And some of that stuff can be major. And if you can catch that before you try to sell your house, it's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of hassle if you get it fixed before you try to sell your house, because you're wanting to get out of there, you're wanting to get your project going, and then you have this house. We had a client, and he was in that situation. We were doing his inspection for his new house, and he didn't have a pre-listing inspection, and he couldn't sell his house because of the issues that he was having. So having that pre-inspection, that pre-listing inspection, can save you a whole lot of time, a whole lot of hassle. It's worth the $400 or whatever it costs to do it, to save you all that time, because you're wanting to move on. You're not wanting to stay in that house anymore.
Absolutely. And again, going back to, again, I can't say enough about home inspection. You guys are rock stars, save people a lot of money. That pre-listing inspection, while you may find things that cost you money, it's not going to hold up the deal. And that's the whole thing, is those things are going to be found.
Yeah. Either
before it goes on the market or after it's under contract. Those issues are going to be found.
Yep.
And so, you're getting ahead of the game. You know what you have. You may choose not to fix them. That's your prerogative. But then you know where you stand, and you can set a realistic list price. It helps you set a realistic list price and stick to your list price. If your agent is wise and prices your home right, You don't have to worry. You don't have to be persuaded to drop the list price because you're afraid of what might come during inspection. You already know.
Yeah.
And so that gives the seller confidence and knowing where they stand in this investment, this asset that they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
So Ben, I certainly appreciate your time. If people need to get a home inspection, what's the best way to get a hold of Fisher Home Inspection?
817-809-1325 is our number, and you can call that number. You'll talk directly to me. We don't have any kind of answering service or anything like that. So 817-809-1325 on Instagram at Fisher Home Inspections, and on the web, FisherHomeInspectionsDFW.com. You can go on there. You can book your inspection online also. If you're in a hurry, you just fill out your information, you send me an email, and we'll schedule it for you. So you're good to go. And if you have clients that speak Spanish, we also are bilingual. So
great information. And Ben, you brought up two things there that I want to just pound on and highlight. Fisher Home Inspections is killing it on Instagram. I'm just going to tell you guys. And just as business owners out there, folks in the real estate triangle, take a look at what they're doing on Instagram, because they've got a great model and they're doing good stuff. Can't brag on you enough, Ben.
Thank you so much.
And also the bilingual assistant, that's huge, as we know, in this area. And so you guys are doing a great job, and hopefully we can send some clients your way. And we'll talk to you on the next episode of the Real Estate Triangle. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Yes, sir. Take care, brother friend. All right, guys. Well, so we've walked through Johnny Client's ordeals, or some of his ordeals, and there's just an endless number of real estate professionals that are required for this transaction. Right? This is a 1-year process. Selling his home in Frisco, buying the 3 acres in Grayson County, improving it, preparing it for home site, and building it. So on our next episode, we're going to actually be talking to the custom builder and some of the things some of the issues that arise. Right, we still have to get water and electric to the home site. So there are many issues that have to be addressed during this process, this project. And so I want to kind of wrap up today's episode by I want to bring in Lyndon Wilson, the creator of The Difference and the carrier of our show. You see the Real Estate Triangle show powered by The Difference. Lyndon is the creator. And Lyndon, what do you think about today's episode?
Man, I loved it. I've been in mortgage many years ago, and been around the real estate industry for 18 years, and I learned a lot today. And one of the things that I think that is important to us all, and I always said this when I was doing credit repair, that you got to have realistic expectations or you're going to find yourself with a lot of disappointments. And hearing these guys talk and all that preparation that you need to know and understand how the process goes. I mean, I know that we all look for and crave that done for you experience, but sometimes it's really good to understand what's going on, so that we're not surprised. And understanding the inspection process. One of the things that we had a comment. Who determines that inspection? If it's a 5-phase, 7-phase, who determines that? Is that the lender? So, those are good questions. We'll answer those on the next show. But man, it was good. I thought you had a great show today, Adam.
I think so. And I didn't say this in the beginning of the show, and I saved it for the conversation between you and I right now, to point out the 2 guys, the 3 guys that were on today, right? I had no connection with until the Real Estate Triangle. So I met these guys in the Real Estate Triangle, and for our imaginary client, Johnny Bauer, I just put together a team that he can count on from the connections made in the Real Estate Triangle. And that is the exact reason that I created the Real Estate Triangle. Is now, today we were speaking directly to the consumer. This last couple of minutes, I'm speaking to home industry professionals. And I want you and I to get them to understand. I'm trying to relay that this is an amazing platform to make those connections, because let's just say that Johnny client here, his real estate agent has never done this land purchase and construction before. Where do they go to get these team members? Well, we've got it all right here.
Right.
And I think that you can highlight that and maybe say a word to that.
Well, that's how you and I really connected. The fact that we have a lot in common besides the fact that we're from Arkansas. Go Hogs.
We'll take.
And so, you know, being relational, Adam, you know, when we sat down and talked and we looked at different things, you know, both of us are really committed to the relational aspect of business, not just the transactional side. We have to have transactions, obviously, but relational continues those transactions, and it's not a one and done.
Absolutely.
And when I saw it, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, as far as relational goes, you know, I have actively sought these people to make relationships with them. You know, I went out to meet with Doc, right, the first time.
Right.
Dirt guy excavation. I wanted to see his work. I wanted to make sure that if I referred him to someone, I could trust that he's going to take care of my client and make me look good.
Right.
Right. We all want to work with winners, and when we do, in the end, when we have good relationships with these team members, our client wins, and that's always the goal. And the way to do that is these relationships. And if you'd finish on that,
well, it is the relationships, and it's having access to them. I mean, we can run around all day long and meet one or two people, but I can go inside the real estate triangle and meet thousands in an hour. And does it take a little bit of work? Yeah, well, obviously it does, but building relationships takes work. I mean, that's where we build our bond. And if we have a good bond with someone, the transactional person is less likely to be able to break that bond. And we can go in there, we can learn about people, we can get to know them, and determine if they're a good fit for the network that we're trying to build. And you can get feedback from other people. It's a great tool and a great resource for anybody in the real estate industry and in the real estate support industry to find the type of people that they can put together to have a concierge type service, which when you're looking at the client, as I said before, that is really kind of wanting the done for you service, the best way to do that is have a team of people that can get it done for them.
Absolutely. And I can't say enough, you know, about this team concept. You know, if you drive down the street, I can tell, I don't care what city you pick, Frisco, Prosper, McKinney, Allen, Plano, all of these shopping centers that are being built, there is a concierge service of chiropractic, weight loss, men's health, women's health, and you walk in and there's one receptionist, right? And you can get all of these services, all of these team members that have band together, and you can have all of your health, you know, needs outside of your primary care taken care of. And why are we not doing the same thing in real estate?
Exactly.
And I just think that you know, we can't say enough, we can't preach enough that you know, after 2008, real estate agents really started to get a bad rap. And I know you saw that, and if you explained a little bit about that bad rap and how taking care of the customer, we can fix that image in the industry.
Well, it did. And some of it was no fault. I mean, the mortgage industry took a big hit and got a bad. I mean, basically the market crashed, and somebody needed somebody to blame. And the two industries they blame was real estate agents and loan officers. All the real estate agent and the loan officer were doing was following government guidelines that our government created. They're just playing by the rules. Well, once it collapsed, because those were really kind of funky rules, the government's not going to take responsibility for it. They never have. So they blamed the mortgage and they blamed the real estate, and each one of them lost a lot of consumer confidence. And you know, some of the people that got into the real estate game and into the mortgage game, they weren't there to serve the people. They were there to serve themselves. That crash kind of purged the system. It got rid of those people, but the black eye was there, right? And so then we come along and there's, I'm not going to mention any names or any companies, but, some companies popped up to try to devalue the real estate industry, even though they're doing real estate. They wanted to devalue, not devalue the real estate industry, but devalue the realtor themselves. And
Right.
So again, it's been a fight that the real estate industry, I'm not sure that they've addressed it. I think they are, but I think that you're right as far as having that concierge service, right? There's a lot of people. I was told the other day, and I don't know this to be true. I haven't looked into it, but there were over 70 people involved in a real estate transaction when you
No,
look
I
at
can
it.
believe that.
Okay.
I can
So if
believe that.
one person screws it up, everybody suffers, but the ultimate suffering comes from either the seller or the buyer, and sometimes both. So when you leave this whole transaction to chance and you put 70 different people that's never worked together, there's the better chance that something's going to fail and a better chance that someone gets thrown under the bus rather than everybody working together to solve the problem and solve it as quickly as possible. When you have that concierge service, when you have this group of people that's a network that are loyal and appreciative of each other, there's always going to be something that goes wrong, Adam. But the thing is,
Absolutely.
not only am I working for my client, but I'm working for our group, right?
Yep.
I don't want to be the weak link in this group. So if I drop the ball, I've got to pick it up and fix it really, really quick. And sometimes because we work well together, we all jump in together to fix the problem. And
Yep.
there is nothing more stressful than a real estate transaction. I really believe that, whether you're buying or selling. And I think that putting these teams together of people we know, like, and trust, who do people do business with? People they know, like, and trust. So
Absolutely.
why would I not want to put a team together that I know, like, and trust? Because that's going to be a lot easier for my clients as well.
Yeah, you were talking about the real estate transactions, probably the single most stressful thing that a person goes through in their life. Yeah, when I started, I had hair when I started in real estate, and you see how that's going. I can't emphasize that enough to the real estate agents. It's the need to build that team, and I'm offering that resource of the real estate triangle to meet and get to know those people and build your team. And Lyndon, I'd like to this last minute and a half, if you could just tell us a little bit about the difference and maybe what you're looking for out there in
Sure. This is something that just happened on its own. I was doing coaching realtors and helping them with social media. And one of the things that everybody knows is that video is very important. It's very impactful and it's very moving. But a lot of us are very intimidated to be on camera. We don't know what to say. Even going out, showing a home, sometimes that's kind of awkward. So I started doing just one-on-one live streams with real estate agents and sometimes more, 2, 3, 4, and just having a conversation about what's going on in the industry or things like you did today. Basically just what you did today, just how you did it today. And when you're sitting there having a conversation, you quickly forget about the mics and the cameras and the lights and everything else, and you just start talking about something that you know, love, and that you're passionate about. And it makes it easier. Well, then I got approached about doing a radio show. I'd never been on the radio before in my life, and but and I was nervous too. I'll tell you what, when I walked in that studio the first day, I was useless. I thought I was useless. I stumbled through, and once the conversation got started with all of us, but we got a lot of sponsors together. We built some unity together, and then when COVID happened, things changed, and of course everybody went away from the studios and setting 2 feet apart to the 6 feet rule, and so we created our own basically network to broadcast and help people. We want to focus on these small business owners, these entrepreneurs, these real estate agents, and help them build a platform and build a voice so that they can expand their sphere, expand their audience, get their message out, and really grow and build their business.
Outstanding. Well, I'm looking forward to the next episode where we continue this conversation. Lyndon, thanks for your hard work.
Adam, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Yes, sir.